Oh, this is how God shows up today. I love it. Oh, one of the things well, we're talking about shifts, and one of the things I realized in my own evolution of my shift is not to judge by outside appearances, but to judge by how I'm feeling inside. And I'm feeling great and wonderful and happy that all of you are here. And I want to tell you that takes work. It takes work to do, because I think we're all trained to look at our outside experiences and to say, oh, you know, there's not a lot of people here, the message might not be good, or there's so many people here, I can't be heard. You know, we always are judging on what's happening outside and going from the inside. Well, today, as I talk about shift and realizing that our shift doesn't stink, it's because it's not about what happens on the inside, it's about what happens in our inner world. I'm going to start off with the quote from today, the spiritual thought, just a little bit of it, not all of it. Man's experience is the logical outcome of his or her inner vision. Man's experience is the logical outcome of his or her inner vision. That means that how we perceive the world is how the world is reflected back to us. And in that case, that's the good news, and it's the bad news, and then it's the very good news, because it's all of it. It's all of it. Because if I'm looking at something and I don't like that aspect of my life, guess what? I have to look within myself and say, what is it about me that I can see or perceive differently that will show up differently in the outer world? So we're talking about shift. I chose this theme for a number of reasons. One is because we experienced a huge shift here. And I don't know what happened. I mean, I could guess, I could speculate, I could say that there was some type of energy that happened, whatever that is, it was just my story. It happened. It happened. And yesterday, we had our first meeting, Alvin and Lorinda and I met talking about the community and where we're going and what we're doing outside of this service. And I had no agenda for yesterday at all, but the agenda kind of showed itself. So we start talking about our shift. I say that with a smile, because some of what came up was not comfortable. We started talking about what was going on in our perceptions and how we viewed things, but we did it in such a way that it wasn't to nag or to ruminate on what happened, but it was actually to call forth the elephant in the room and to release it and to say that's no longer our truth. And then we could get into the fun, creative part of what's next. So we came up with the themes for next month, or the theme for next month, and I'm working on the talk titles, but we're going to talk about the self. And then if we're going to shift, then we're going to really talk about the aspects and embracing our whole self. Because if we want to have the shift stick, we need to be grounded in who we truly are. And one of the things I said yesterday in the meeting that sticks with me is I said at one point, I don't know what to do. You know, I'm the minister. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix all of this stuff happening outside. The only thing I know what to do is to go within myself, to check how my inner world is, and to tend to that, cultivate that, center in that awareness, and then allow and trust that whatever unfolds from it is perfect. Do I know what that looks like? No. I have no idea. I have no idea. but I know I'm going to feel good each step along the way because I'm tending to my inner world, my inner vision, and that will outpicture in some way or another. But we're in this beautiful thing called process. Before I dive deep, because today I really want to talk about shift and switching to our inner world and how we can change our inner world. But I really want to define what shift means. What is shift exactly? I mean, you can think of shift as a change or a transformation or as a moving from one side to the other, shifting our weight. But what I truly mean about shifting or spiritual shift is changing our point of view from a materialistic point of view to a spiritual point of view. What that means is taking the power away from the things that we have that make us feel powerful, or the power of other people have over us, or maybe our experiences have over us, or all of that, and putting the power in the truth of who we are. And that is that we are made in the image and likeness of God. We're made in the image of the divine. And so we are one with that. God, the universe, whatever name you want to call it. And there is God as love, and we are love. God is peace. We are peace. God is creative. We are creative. So having that shift from the part where things have power over us to we have power to create what's next. And do I know what that creation looks like? Not really. But I know what it feels like. I know when I feel love. I know when I feel peace. I know when I walk away and go, oh, that was joyous. I know that. And so can I change, can I switch, can I make the shift in here to be able to view and live in peace and harmony in my everyday existence? Welcome. So Ernest says that we can learn our lessons in three ways. We can learn by inspiration, we can learn by intuition, or we can learn by bitter experience. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of done learning by bitter experience. So we can learn by inspiration. We can shift because we're inspired to make a change. We see someone living the way we want to live. We see someone having something successful, and we're inspired. We say, I want that too. So we can shift or change into that. Or we can change because we intuit it. We hear within ourselves that new job, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should be a minister. I heard that when I first walked in this, and I thought, oh. And so that intuition inspires us to change. Or we can learn by bitter experience. And bitter experience can mean a whole plethora of things. It can mean the diagnosis. It can mean someone leaving you in a relationship. It can mean the conflict you have with someone at work. It can mean something that grabs your attention that says, oh, shift. I gotta change, or I'm not surviving this. And I believe that the more we become aware of our inner world, the more we become conscious and we can move through shift in a conscious manner, the less we need to get something to grab our attention, because we're already on top of it. We're already on top of it. But how do we do that? How do we become conscious? How do we become aware? And I ask that question, and it kind of seems like, well, a no-brainer. But the truth is that when something grabs your attention, you go, oh, I wasn't conscious then. And so you don't even realize where you're not conscious until something grabs your attention. Do you know what I mean? You go, oh, there's my blind spot. Oh, there's where I need to grow. So we can do that. There's a saying here, and in New Thought and other places I've heard, and I believe it's the spiritual principle and truth, and that is where thought flows, energy goes. Where thought flows, energy goes. And I use this rubber band to demonstrate this. Hopefully I don't shoot it like I did this morning. But if we have thought can move in 3 directions. It can move in a circle, where it seems like it's going in one direction, but then we keep experiencing the same thing over and over again. We think we're done with that experience, but then it comes back. So the energy is flowing where our thought is going in circular motion. Or our thought can move downward, right? And this is where our shift begins to stink, because it stinks down there. You don't want to smell people's feet. But that means that we go into fear, we go into victimhood, we go into the darkness. We think things are happening to us and that we have no power. And then, guess what? We begin to see that in our outer world. We begin, I don't know, but when I'm doing that, I begin to feel stuck, powerless, forget who I am. Or our thought can move upward, and then the energy flows upward. And at first, when I heard this, and when I first came into the science of mind philosophy, I thought it was as simple as positive thinking. I thought it was as simple as the more positive I think, the more the energy will flow up and the better my life. And truthfully, that's kind of what happened at first. I started thinking positive. Things started to change. I started to see life different. I was like, this is really cool. And then I kept thinking positive, and then what I realized is I'm not getting anywhere. Does this stuff really work? I'm thinking positive, but I'm not seeing the change. I'm thinking positive, and the Oneness Center is not growing. What's happening? And then I realized that this isn't just about positive thinking. It can't be. Because if I'm just thinking positive, what am I doing with my wholeness, which is the aspect of me which is negative? And if we say it's all God, then there's good, there's bad, everything in it. Everything we see and perceive is God. So what I realized in my own practice is the more positive, the more I was thinking, I have to think positive, the more I'm suppressing the negative. And it wasn't going away. It wasn't transforming. It was creating a this. And it can only go as far as the polarity of my thoughts. My growth could only go as far as my highest positive thought and the tension between my negative thought.